Hi and welcome back to the next module, the next session in our series of effective school management and leadership program. This program has been organized by Markazi Taleemi board, the education wing of Jama'at-e-Islami Hind, New Delhi. I am your facilitator, Umri, and today we are going to discuss on the types of leadership or the type of leaders, what kind of leadership you have to adapt, what should be your strategy, what should be your methodology, what should be your attitude towards managing. Dear friends, the difficult task that a human always faces is managing different people in your group. Remember, because each one of us come with different mindset and each one has got their own attitudes. Sometimes they are very positive, sometimes they may not be as positive as you and I expect. Because at the end of the day, it is the result which matters, and the result is directly connected with the growth of our institutions. We do have a set predefined vision, predefined mission. We have set a philosophy, we have aims and objectives, and we are working towards it. We have been working for it, we are working for it, and we tend and we expect that there is a growth. And who on earth would not be happy when you're moving towards success? And in an institution, the success depends completely on the teamwork. And in a school, an educational institution, the success depends completely on what happens in the classroom, and whatever we do has to be child-centric. It has to be beneficial for the child alone. You cannot work on something which could satisfy a parent or something which we could satisfy our own, I would say, ego. I'm sorry to use this word, but most of the time, in many cases, we want that ego to get satisfied. At times we know it doesn't work, but still, because we have announced it, we want it to happen. We don't want to go back on our decisions. Who is stopping us from going back on our decisions? Because you are the boss of the school, or you are the boss of your institution. Now, I'm not saying you take a decision and you can go back on it or you cannot go back on it. Your decision has been taken, a decision which has been taken, you can revert the decision at any time, at any stage. But the only condition is here, one of the stakeholder in your institution, though they are young, the children, if it is not going to help the child, your decision has to be reverted. If it is going to help the child and you have to change the decision, you have to change the decision. So, managing so many different set of people, different teachers, different parents, and different children in your class. If you have 10 classes and if each class has got 24 students, you got 240 different students in the class in your school building, and you have almost double that number of parents, that is almost 480 parents who come to you with different mindsets. The mother and the father always do not come with the same mindset. The mother has got a different approach, the father has got a different approach, and to add on to that, there are at times the grandparents also interfere into what the child is going to do and what the child is going to learn. So keeping all this in mind, you as a leader, what kind of approach you have to maintain is a question. In today's session, I would be very happy to share and present something which would probably help you. Now this session is actually has to be a reflective one. When I'm talking to you on the different types of leaderships which are generally visible, these approaches can at times be wrong, but in most cases it matches to the kind of approach you are adapting in your school as a leader of the school. You are heading an organization as a president of the school, as a chairman of the school, as a manager of the school, as a principal of the school, as a secretary correspondent of the school. But at times, what kind of approach is good? Now here, I'm going to talk to you on the different leadership styles, the different management styles. Generally, the top management gurus have given their own philosophies. Psychologists have worked on this. They have done research, studied, seen through different people with different mindsets, and they have come to a conclusion. And somebody says there are 6 different styles, someone might come up with 7 different styles, someone may say there are 10 different styles of leadership. But today I am going to talk to you about only 6 different kind of leaderships we generally have. The first one being coercive. The second one being authoritative. The third one being democratic, the democratic style of leadership. The next one being affiliative. Coercive, authoritative, I missed, it's affiliative, then you have democratic, you have pace setting, and the last one being the coaching, the leader being a coach. Now these 6 different styles, we'll try to understand what each style is all about, and you see where you fit into it, or you just try to check out which style are you adapting, or what is your style of functioning, what is your method, what is your approach towards your leading the team. Remember, my dear leaders, I am referring you all as leaders because a leader is somebody who would probably understand what exactly the vision and the mission is. And our responsibility as a leader is to make sure that we follow certain guidelines. We make sure that the aims and objectives are clear cut in our mind, and we work towards achieving those aims and objectives. By doing so, at times we tend to get distracted with the external forces working against us. Now, what are these external forces? I'm not talking about something which doesn't exist, or I'm not talking about something which is imaginary. I'm talking about something which are all around you. I have worked with a very few institutions in my span of 27 years as teacher, as a leader, as a principal, as a leader, managing schools. I would say probably this 27 years, 3 to 4 organization is what I worked with. 3 to 4. I would actually say it is 3. I'm not naming them here, but in 2 scenarios, in 2 organizations, I could really understand what a leader is all about. My experience is what I'm sharing with you today is what I have learnt on the ground looking at my leader. And those institutions are flourishing today in the country. One of them has become an university, and I'm sure the second one, which I always feel proud of, is also moving towards becoming a deemed university soon. I'm talking about K-12 schools changing over to universities. Now, how could a school which was started about 30 years back with a pre-primary classroom could convert into a university? It was just because the leader had that vision and the mission in his mind, and he worked towards achieving those goals. And the kind of leadership style he adapted made it possible for that K-12 school to get changed over to a deemed university. And the other one being one of the top international schools in the country. It's not easy, because it's not 1 or 2 staff, it's not 1 or 2 or 3 people working there, it's hundreds of them working, and managing those hundreds of different mindset, different attitude each one of us got is not an easy task. So what style did they adapt? We'll have to really work, be with this kind of people to understand what kind of leadership did they adapt. So the very first one being cohesive leadership, which is all about the very first one being, which most of the time it's not accepted. It's like forcing your own ideas onto somebody else and not giving the freedom to work. The least effective in most situations. And in certain cases, the kind of decisions which a leader takes kills the creativity of the team, because this is where the leader trusts the ideas and says, you have to do this, you better do this. And here it is something like, I would probably say a kind of dictatorship you have. And we know the history has clearly demonstrated when somebody wanted to rule by force, they didn't last long. They didn't last long. Coercive leadership, the very first one, the methodology or the approach which these kind of leaders adapt is something where they force the team to work as they want it to be. This kind of approach doesn't last long. I am talking to you about the impact which it creates because history has clearly shown us that when a leader adapts an approach where he wants his team or his followers to just take whatever is given to them and follow it blindly. I am not going to name the leaders here. You are sensible enough to understand whom I am referring to. Yes, the one leader which I would definitely talk about is his own ideas, his own philosophies, he trusts upon his followers, his countrymen. He could mesmerize with his talk, and people just jumped into what he said. And what happened at the end? What happened at the end? There are debates on what he did was right, but in most cases the debate was against him. I'm talking about the leader who gave us the First World War and the Second World War, the dictatorship which he had, the kind of control he had on the Nazis, Hitler. And today when we use his name, we don't want Hitler rule. We don't like it. He forced his ideas, and if anybody could speak against him, he was not seen, he was not visible the next day. From the top, the decisions came, and it had to be followed. No respect to the subordinates. Remember, leaders, if you really want your institution to grow, you need to respect every individual in your organization, right from the second level under you. If you are heading the organization, the next person under you, to the top, to the almost bottom line level, how do you treat them is what matters. Now here, when you are leading from the front, and if you could not respect your own team members, fine, you may not like the idea at times what your team members propose. There's always a better way to put it down, or make sure that you explain why it may not work in this scenario and what would work, or probably you could ask him to go back do some more research and come back again with an alternate one. But you can just say dump that idea into the dustbin and just follow what I am telling you to do. This would kill the confidence level of your team. And remember, when the team is not confident, they will not be able to give you that result, or they will not be able to meet the expectations or the aims and objectives which you have set for your institution. So here, the next time he would say, why should I take the responsibility? And the responsibility gets evaporated. And when there's no responsibility, there's no accountability. When there's no responsibility, there's no accountability. If you give the responsibility, then he or she would feel responsible and say, I'm answerable to somebody, because this is a responsibility which has been given to me. And then he or she will make sure that the task is completed and they report back saying that, sir, this was done. So these two things, the ownership, accountability, responsibility, all sync. There's no responsibility, no ownership comes. Why should I do? This is not my institution. I've been paid, let me work from 8:15 to 4:30 and get out of this place. If this is what your team is doing, you're just pouring your money into drain. And fine, you may earn that money back, but you will not be able to give that 1 year back to your child. Remember, I said the leadership has to always be a child-centric leadership. Now, what is child-centric leadership? Completely different concept. You may not agree with me, but I would say that is what will give you what you want. In my first module, I had asked you a very simple question. Why did you start your organization? What was the reason behind starting a school which you own today? Or what is the reason behind you being the responsible person that in that institution, as a principal, as a manager, as a bursar, or as an administrator? The designations may change, but you are the top level managerial personality in the organization. So if you need accountability, then you need to make sure that they have the ownership with them and they are responsible enough to deliver what they are supposed to do. This style can be used. I am not saying that this may not work, but in most cases it fails if it is not adapted very cautiously. And at times when you feel that the person is not going to listen to me, or the person is not capable enough to think on his own and do the work, in that case you dictate the terms and say, I just want it to be like this, it has to be done like this. But you have to be very sure that what you are saying has to be very clear to yourself first. You should be very clear with what it is, and you should also be you should also have a vision and look at what could be the outcome of this. You should be aware of the outcome, and then you could adapt this. This can also be used when you feel there is a scenario where there's a coup which is happening in your organization. It happens. At times there is politics, there is groupism. People tend to dictate their own terms and say, I am going to tell you what to do and you're going to do this. And this comes when you're not in the scenario, when you're not in the picture. So you will have to take a call. When you pitch in, you'll have to take a call and say, enough is enough. Now let us do it in our own style. कट कर लेते हैं क्या? So you have to take a call and say, enough is enough. Everybody, I had given you a chance, but you didn't take it seriously. You didn't come up to my level. You didn't come up to my expectation. So, sorry boss, I'm taking over and you're going to do what I say. And that is when you become a dictator in your school. This is one kind. The second kind of approach can be an authoritative approach. No doubt you are the authority in this organization, you are the head of the organization, you have been given the responsibility by your board members to lead and make sure that the resolutions which were taken on the boardroom, all those resolutions which were passed in the boardroom, you are the person who are going to go on the ground, implement them and make sure that those objectives are achieved, and you have been given that authority. So when you are given being the authority, the approach you have to take up is, you will have to make sure that the very first thing here, if you have a document on your hand, you have a document hanging in your neck, you walk up to your team members in the boardroom and tell them, this is what the vision is, this is what the mission is, this is the philosophy of the organization, these are the aims and objectives of the organization, and let us work towards achieving it. Now remember, the 20 members in that boardroom who are the middle level management, there might be a principal, there might be a coordinator, there might be an administrator, there might be head of the departments. Your first target is to make sure that they understand the vision and the mission, the philosophy, they understand where they are heading. Now it is your responsibility to motivate them. The first and foremost, did you ever motivate your staff members post-COVID? My question is, post-COVID, how many of us went back to the teachers and the principal and the parents and the children and motivated them to work? There was a session which I did on learning gaps. If you could go back and refer to that session, I spoke about what kind of difficulties the schools are facing when the children came back from the COVID. It depends on how you motivate. If you are an authoritative leader, it is your responsibility, it is my responsibility as an authoritative leader that I motivate my team members. And to what extent? I bring them on par and make them understandable to the vision and the mission what I have set, or what my team members have set in the boardroom. And what does an authority leader do? So after you motivate, you give them some time frame. Say, okay, let's now go back to your team members, train them, let them get into the classroom. After a month, let us do an analysis, let us do an audit and see what is happening in the classroom. Now when you get the results, an authority leader comes back with a feedback. This is where you go wrong. This is where you have gone wrong. This is where you have gone wrong. So authoritative leader is somebody who would give a feedback in an appropriate manner. Now giving a feedback is, you call a teacher or a principal or the manager or the bursar or your chief administrator into your cabin and say, I had told you to do this, I motivated you to do this, I trained you to do this and you have not done, please get out of my school. You have not done your job properly. Now say, what have I done? Can you please tell me what is that which went wrong? If you are not specific in giving your feedback, how do you expect the person to correct himself? It's just like most of the time the teachers do this. Your child is not good in mathematics. Now mathematics is what? Arithmetic, algebra, trigonometry, geometry, and again in arithmetic is it decimal, it is fractions, it is numbers, addition, subtraction, multiplication. What is it? He is not understood a concept, and in that particular concept he is not able to solve the problem, and he is not getting a solution to that problem. The rest all is fine. Now we as teachers decide that he is completely a dumb guy in mathematics. So it's just exactly the same way that you call in your person, a team member, and say, you're not been teaching well, please put your papers and then walk out of my school. Where exactly did the teacher go wrong? So feedback is something which is very important. The standards which you set has to be clear. What does success mean to you? If you want your students to score 90 out of 100, be specific and say, I want all my 24 students in the class to get 90 out of 100. Then you are clearly defining your target. Now, a school where I manage, my targets are very clear. We run this institution in a place where people, the parents, children, the schools, the other schools, the managements, everybody are completely, I would say, mesmerized with the numbers. 9.9 GPA is a number. 10 out of 10 GPA is a number. They don't see anything else. Nothing is visible to them. And every meeting I conduct, I'm very clear. I say I'm not looking at the marks. Yes, teachers are at times in a shock. Sir, how could you do this? How could you say this? Now, what do you do when your student scores 10 out of 10 and then he is loitering around on the street, getting involved into all sorts of antisocial elements? Does it really help? So my target is, my aim and objective is, my clear-cut set priority is, I want my students to get the top values inculcated into them. That is the first thing which I want. Then the rest comes easily. You don't have to really worry about it. So be very clear and specific with what exactly you want and what success means to you. You want that 100 meters race to get completed in 30 seconds. Specifically, you tell them 30 seconds I'm giving you, and you have to clear the finishing line. Imagine you just put all the 10 students on the track and say you just run. Each one will take their own time. Yes, they would clear the finishing line, but is that the success for you? Or you would say, I want everybody to finish in 30 seconds. 100 meters 30 seconds, 100 meters 40 seconds, 100 meters 50 seconds. Clear cut definition, clear cut approach. You got 10 chapters to complete, and in 10 chapters you got 10 months to finish it off. You're conducting a test. I want the child to be capable enough to comprehend and then complete the paper. I'm least bothered whether the child is making a spelling mistake. I'm not bothered. In the first phase, I want the child to comprehend the paragraph what you have given. And comprehension means he should be able to summarize it in his own mother tongue. This is my definition for success in that particular class, if you are teaching English in that particular class. So be very clear on the standards you set, and the success is what kind of success. This leader gives freedom to innovate. This leader gives the teacher to experiment. This leader gives the teacher to take calculated risk. In the last 1 year, 2 year, sit back and reflect. Did you ever give a chance to the teacher or your principal to innovate and adapt new methodologies in the classroom? Did you allow the principal and the teachers to do some kind of experiment on those children who have that learning gap? Did you tell the principal to take a risk? If you have done it, then it's going to be beneficial for your institution. Then you are an authoritative leader. This style tends to work very well in most of the situations, but you need to be very clear. You need to be very cautious, because when you give the freedom to innovate, that person has to be an expert in that particular subject. Otherwise it will not work. Because you are just giving them that authority, you are just giving that person a freedom to go and innovate and experiment and take that calculated risk. If he knows exactly what he is supposed to do, then you get to go where you are, or you get to go where you want to go. But if that person is not an expert, and if you have given him the freedom to innovate, to be creative, to do experiments, and to take calculated risk, your project fails. So you need to always have experts or who are experienced in that particular field. You can't just get some new person altogether, a novice altogether, and say, okay, just go do what you want to do. It will not. So be very careful. Decide when you want to be an authoritative leader. Decide when you want to be a coercive leader. It also, when you are moving up to the third one, the affirmative, the affiliative leader. This leader always wants everybody to be happy. The leader doesn't want any kind of hiccups, any kind of mess around in the institution. ठीक है, everybody is happy, everybody is happy. But always strives to keep the employees happy, the stakeholders happy, and he tends to create a very strong bonding with this kind of leadership. Yes, it increases loyalty, no doubt. When you agree to everything, everybody is happy and they say, "Aise sir rahe to bahut acha hai." Because he's not screaming, he's not thrusting his ideas on, he's not giving the freedom, he's not allowing you to take experiments. I don't want to do any experiment, I don't want to be innovative, I don't want to take any calculated risk. जैसे हैं वैसे we are fine. If that is the case, definitely the loyalty increases. It gives the people the freedom to do their job they think is most effective. So what happens is, आप खुश रहो सर, आपको जो करना है करो. And then what would I do? I'm happy. I'm allowed to do what I want. And what I would do? I would select the easiest way to reach, to finish that 100-meter finishing line. But does that give you what you want? Is a question mark. Take this leadership style is something where they do take direct daily reports. And what do? How do you take reports? How do you take reports? There are ways. Okay, mail me your report, I am going home. One of the best method today. I don't have time to sit and discuss with you. Please put everything on a paper and put it on my table. When I am free, I'll look into it. You just text me on the WhatsApp, I'll read and I'll let you know what is right and what is wrong. Now this kind of leadership, when you adapt, there is no attachment. The bonding is gone for a toss. But the affiliative leader does it in a reverse fashion. He would say, boss, let's have lunch together. And during the lunch, he'll say, okay, let me know what is your problem. Where are you going right and where are you going wrong? Let me help you where you are going wrong. Let me help you where you are going wrong. This is a sentence which the leader would put it across. Now the person who is giving you a report would feel very happy to share all those things which he feels have to be shared to find a solution to the problem he's got. So how many times have you had lunch with your staff members, with your team members, and try to get to know what is happening inside the classroom. Recently, I haven't done it. I would probably start in a day or two when I finish this recordings of my classes. I decided to have, normally it's me alone who have lunch, or at times it is the heads who are there with me who would sit down and have lunch. I said, let's give this an opportunity, take it as an opportunity and say lunch with the boss. And that can be the teacher, that can be the student also. Now on the table, you discuss and you get to know what is happening inside your institution. You're taking a report, but you're indirectly talking to them about their own problems, and you're directly getting involved into your own problems. Take out the time to celebrate when your team has done something really good. Call them, appreciate them, give them a drop, an appreciation drop, a certificate. Fantastic job. I would say you need to adapt this. If you could do this regularly, every day, you could see the whole shift, the paradigm shift which would happen in your organization. Because it's your own school. You are not a guest who would walk in and just move across the corridors and see what is happening in the class. Everything is fine, and then you go away. You are not a guest. G-U-E-S-T. You are the host. H-O-S-T. And it is the host's responsibility that you make sure that the product which gets out of your institution would become a responsible product, a productive product to the society, not even to self, or not even to the parents, or not to the alma mater. You need to be the host. Don't be a ghost. I'm sorry I'm using this word, but this is what happens in most of the schools' management system. Coming in once in a while, call the principal and say, "Chalo, bata, what is happening in the school? Okay, this is happening. Do whatever you, ma'am. I just want this problem to get solved." Affiliative leaders are somebody who build relations. Naturally, that comes in. Automatically, when you're having lunch, when you're having a short break, you take some time out to have tea with your members. Sit with them in the lawn, sit with them in the corridor, sit with them in the room, your own cabin, or walk into their classroom and sit down with them, and then try to be a part, because they are actually coming in from 8:15 to 4:30 or 4 o'clock or 3:30, whatever the timing is of your school. But that entire structure was built by you. You own it. And it is your responsibility to make sure that every brick counts and talks and gives you the result, helps you achieve that objectives what you really wanted. Build those relationships, and the relationships can be built only outside your cabin. Like I always tell the teachers, The best classroom management happens outside the classroom and not inside the classroom. So the best leadership, the best approach would be when you be on the ground with those team members who are working there, rather than you sit in your cabin and try to be the boss all the time. This style is effective in many situations. Particularly, it helps you build harmony. It increases the morale of your team members. It improves the communication, and it repairs that broken relationship. The trust which has gone will bring back when you are on the ground. Imagine you are there. It's just like when your own child is suffering from fever. You cannot sit in the office and say, give the child this tablet, this medicine, you do this every half an hour, you do that every half an hour. Rather than that, you run up and then sit down next to that child, and how you take care of the child. You are there in that particular situation till that problem gets solved. If you are doing it, what happens when the child recovers? What happens when your father recovers? What happens when any of your family member is sick, or any of your family member is got completely stuck in a situation where it is difficult for him to come out? You have been through him, you have been with him or her, helped him to get out of that situation. He would become so loyal, he would give up everything to be with you for the rest of the life. And we all have experienced this in our life. So if you could be an affiliative leader, it will increase the harmony. It will increase the morale in your team members. He's not behaving like a boss. He's somebody who is just a part of the institution. That's only the tag and the designation which you have got. But are we not the same? Your teacher is working for the sake of the child. You set up an institution for the children. Yeah, no doubt you would have set up the institution as a business entity, and then you are earning money out of it. There's no wrong in it. I definitely would not say don't earn money. But remember, educational institutions are service institutions. This should be the top priority, and today I'm sorry, this phrase is out and there's no service. You cannot afford to have chain of schools and you don't even know what is happening in the institution. You don't even know what the principal is doing there, because you are not interacting with them. You are just taking the report sitting in the head office, in the corporate office, and expect the principal to send you a mail of what will he do? He will just say everything is fine. Grade 1 was this, grade 2 did this, grade 3 did this, these are the results, this is what is happening. But did you walk into the classroom? Did you walk into the corridor? Did you check what is happening in the school? If you have not, then you cannot be an affiliate. You are not getting affiliated. You are not getting connected to your own school, your own organization. You are aloof. You are sitting in the corporate office under in an AC cabin and expect your team members to send you a report. What kind of report do I send? Any of the boss is not seeing. I would say everybody is doing excellent, sir. How are you? I'm excellent, sir. I'm fine. This is what. Because of this focus, at times this may fail. Now you really need to be very careful. If you start appreciating, there is a chance that I tend to get carried away and say anything I do, sir is appreciating. So I tend to become little lethargic, and that little lethargic style of mine in the classroom may end up I being overconfident, and when I get overconfidence in myself, obviously I would definitely lose my track. And losing a track means I am not achieving the objectives which I am supposed to achieve. And what are my objectives? My students in the classroom have to be the productive citizens of the society tomorrow. This should be the phrase for every management. Is your student being able to be a productive doctor who is able to cure, treat the worst come worst situations, or is he looking at only earning money? I may be very traditional in my talk, because nowadays it is more of corporate style of functioning. But that corporate style of functioning works at a different level, in a different scenario, but it would not work in an institution where you are grooming the future citizens for your own country. Affiliative leaders rarely offer constructive advice on how to improve. Employees must figure out how to do it on their own. Now, as I said, you may give them the opportunity to be innovative, you may give them the opportunity to take calculated risk. So you are giving them all that is required, but if they are not experts, they may not be able to do the best, and it may backfire you. That is why what happens here, these kind of leaders, they don't give constructive ideas on how to improvise. So you will have to be a blended personality when you are managing human resources.